So once again, thank you so much to our speakers and also our moderator for this panel discussion, and there is a lot of insights has been given to all of us this afternoon. Terima kasih, kami persilakan untuk dapat duduk kembali. Baik, Bapak dan juga Ibu, rupanya di sore hari ini masih akan ada satu lagi sesi terakhir, namun sebelumnya kami persilakan, kami juga sudah menghidangkan coffee break. Kami persilakan Bapak dan juga Ibu untuk dapat menikmati hidangan coffee break terlebih dahulu, sembari nanti kami akan lanjutkan. Jadi dalam sesi coffee break ini kami akan lanjutkan karena masih ada satu pembicara sebelum kita menuju ke sesi terakhir ataupun sesi kelima pada hari ini. Untuk itu kami persilakan dapat menikmati hidangan coffee break terlebih dahulu. Dan tadi kami juga sudah menyediakan survei dan bisa di-scan barcode-nya nanti untuk dapat diisi surveinya terkait dengan rangkaian acara yang kami hadirkan pada hari ini. Terlebih Bapak dan juga Ibu, kami mohon tidaknya terlebih dahulu untuk dapat menikmati hidangan coffee break dan segera masuk kembali karena di sela-sela dari coffee break ini kami akan lanjutkan dengan sesi berikutnya itu dengan pembicara yang hadir pada hari ini dan sebelum lanjut ke sesi yang kelima. Baik, sekali lagi kami persilakan Bapak dan juga Ibu. Sesaat lagi kita juga akan kembali mengundang pembicara berikutnya. Ada beberapa hal yang akan disampaikan sembari kita dapat menikmati hidangan coffee break. Dan juga kembali nantinya di sesi kelima kami akan menghadirkan narasumber berikut dengan moderator kami akan memimpin. Serta nantinya juga kami akan berikan kesempatan bagi Anda untuk bertanya dalam sesi Q&A. Dan juga kembali kami menyapa Bapak dan juga Ibu yang saat ini masih tersambung bersama dengan kami secara online. Terima kasih telah berkenan hadir. Dan untuk itu langsung saja berikutnya, rupanya sembari menikmati hidangan coffee break, kami akan mempersembahkan satu lagi pembicara pada hari ini. Untuk itu kami persilahkan dan boleh kita berikan tepuk tangan kepada Bapak Warisa Siwarungsong. Kami persilahkan. Boleh kita berikan tepuk tangan yang meriah Bapak dan juga Ibu. Baik, mohon izin terlebih dahulu rupanya ada sedikit kesalahan dari key card saya. Kami persilakan kepada Ibu Warisa Siwarungsong. Kami persilakan.
Alright. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yes. All right, can I have my presentation up? And officially, good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed the event so far. And my name is Warisa Sihilanwong, and I came from GSAT Thailand. I saw some familiar faces here, and I'm glad to meet you again. I'm also working for Clean, Affordable and Secure Energy Project in Southeast Asia, or CASE. And for those who don't know what CASE is, then can we go to next slide, please? Oh. Then, so CASE is, so we are working on 4 countries, including Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. And our consortium consists of the local think tanks. In case of Indonesia, it's the IESR, and we also have a think tank, and that's the Agara Energy vendor who just present about the market design session and also new climate. And when we implementing our project, we also partnering with our political partner in respective country. And so what CASE is doing? So our objective is to shift the direction of energy sector in Southeast Asia towards the evidence-based energy transition. And one of our main output is to improve the synergies between energy transition stakeholders. And to do so, we want to improve the transparency and cooperation between the stakeholders. Before I start my presentation, has anyone seen this picture before? Have you ever heard of the story of an elephant and the 7 blind monks? If you ever heard of the story, can you put your hands up? Okay, there's someone over there who already heard about the story, so please don't spoil. So there is a story of this elephant and the 7 blind monks. So the blind monks, they have never seen the elephant before. But then there is a big elephant, and they were just touched parts of it. For example, the ones that touching the elephant ears, he said, "Oh, this is a fan." And the one that touched the tails part, he said, "This is a rope." And the one that touched the body parts, they said, "This is the wall." So just like that, so just like the energy transition, if we said the energy transition is the elephant, then like many of us are working on this topic, but we can only touch on a particular part of this topic. So this is where CPET came in. So CPET is here to align us all and to fill in the gap for you to coordinate with each other and for you to find the synergies. So CPET stands for the Southeast Asia Information Platform for the Energy Transition. It's an interactive knowledge platform that built to facilitate the dialogue and promote the coordination between stakeholders. And CPET currently have 4 major project mapping tool, project sector resources, knowledge hub, and the just energy transition. From the project mapping tool, this will give you the overview of energy transition initiatives in Southeast Asia, and this is where you can find your potential synergies in the Southeast Asia. Currently, we have more than 200 projects on CPET, and I would like to invite you to also upload your information, your project's information on CPET so that everyone can have a look at it and see if and the tools include the Power Transition Progress Tool, Power Sector Snapshot, and the Power Sector Data Browser, and then the Global Energy Monitor Power Plant Trackers. These, sorry. 1 second, please. So there's supposed to be a video. So the power sector, the Power Transition Progress Tool, the first tool, is there to monitor the energy transition progress in Southeast Asia with more than 60 indicators. And the Power Sector Snapshot, it will give you the overview of the insights of the power sector in the 4 major countries in Southeast Asia. And then the Power Sector Data Browser, it will visualize the quantitative data of power sector in 10 different countries in ASEAN country. And last but not least is the Global Energy Monitor Power Plant, which will give you the overview of power plant globally. Okay. And then we also have the Knowledge Hub. So the Knowledge Hub is where you can also populate your publications and promote your researches through this platform. Last but not least is the Just Energy Transition Partnership, where we want to consolidate all the information about the JETP in Indonesia and Vietnam. We actually have some games here, so everyone, if you would like to have some small gift from Thailand, then please scan the QR code here, and then can we shift to the... Can we shift to the quiz part? Thank you. Maybe there's some technical issues.
Ya, dan rupanya ada sedikit oleh-oleh yang dibawa Miss Warisa dari Thailand. Dan kami akan Okay, already?
So has everyone access to the quiz? Yes. So maybe you can please take out your phone and then scan the QR over here or access the slide and then we can start the quiz. All right. Is everyone good? Yes? Okay. Okay, let's start with the first question. So let's start with the first question. Oh, there's 49 players here. So the faster that you answer, the I mean, many people have the yes. So the correct answer is the power. And this one you can find the answer in the power snapshot page in CPET. Next question. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's actually very competitive, no?
Where is Mr. Fikri? Di mana Pak Fikri?
Mr. Fikri.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Then next question. How much did solar capacity in Vietnam increase between 2019 and 2020?
Baik, boleh langsung dijawab ya. Dan untuk skor sementara yang tertinggi ada Pak Fikri, apakah bergeser atau masih tetap sama nih kira-kira nanti?
And the correct answer is
wow.
11 gigawatt. Wow. So many people get the answer correct. Wow. Okay.
Okay, so let's see who is the top scorer. And Mas Radit, Mas Radit yang mana?
What?
Mas Radit. Okay.
Okay, also over there.
No. Actually, we have another score. Oh, Pak Ronald, Mas Ronald. Yang mana Pak Ronald? Ada nggak? Oh, oke.
Okay.
Sampingnya Mas Radit. Itu oke. Next, our last question. Belum loh, masih ada satu lagi. Nah, so actually we still have one question.
And where to find the overview of all Indonesian implementing projects? This one is easy. Too easy.
Okay.
Aku mau hosting skala.
Can you find it? Maybe it's power snapshot. Okay, and the answer is the project mapping tool. And no one got it right.
Gak ada yang benar ini satu pun. Serius?
Oh my God.
Oke.
Well,
And
yeah,
the winner goes to
CPAD. Oh no, wait.
oh ya CPAD. Yang mana?
Can I have your hands? Where are your CPAD?
CPAD.
Mas CPAD.
Ada nggak di sini CPAD? Or maybe CPAD is our participant by online, is it?
Yeah, I mean like everyone have to scan the QR code here.
Yeah, I think so. Mas, yang CPAD benar dari online nggak? Kira-kira coba dicek dulu. Or maybe if you're,
If you're
oh yeah, okay. Okay, so
he here?
No, by
no.
online.
Okay, then maybe we can move to Mr. or Pak Ronald. Pak Ronald. Yay! Can you come up here?
Ronald. Halo Pak Ronald, selamat. Ini kira-kira mendapatkan hadiah snack apa nih? Ini ada from, is it from or Ronald? Sorry miss,
Yeah,
so,
we can have 3 people.
oh oke.
Yes. So Pak Ronald, you can come here.
Yang from ada nggak di sini
And then
atau?
Pak Vroom. Where are you? Okay, then Pak Sastro. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Can you come up here?
Oke, yay.
And then there should be another person. Then Radit. Yeah. Then Pak Radit.
Pak Radit.
Can you come up here, please?
Oke.
All right. Thank you.
So this is the prizes. Congratulations to all the winner. Jadi ada Pak Mas Radit, Pak Ronald sama Vroom is okay.
Pak Radit, Ronald, and
This is your birth from Thailand.
No, these are from Thailand.
Oh, okay.
So here is some snacks from Thailand and case. I mean the bag from the event. So thank you for
Yeay,
participating.
boleh kita berikan tepuk tangan?
Thank you. And then last one. Thank you. So maybe can we go back to the slide?
Or maybe can we have a photograph session
Oh
first?
yes.
Step forward, please. Okay. Could you please to facing to the camera in the middle and let me count starting from 3, 2, and 1. And one more. Congratulations, thank you. Boleh dong kasih
Thank
tepuk
you so
tangannya lagi
much, and
teman-teman
enjoy
semuanya.
your snack. Yep, and you can always visit CPAD booth on the right-hand side, outside of the functioning room, and yeah, there will be more prize. And before I end my presentation, I would like to emphasize that it's when everyone share that everyone benefits. Thank you.
Thank you. Sawadika.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So once again, thank you so much, Mr. Ward, for giving the presentation. It's very interesting, and also you should prepare for the prizes to all the winner. Dan berikutnya Bapak dan juga Ibu, sekali lagi terima kasih masih tetap hadir bersama dengan kami dan acara akan kami segera lanjutkan ya. Kita akan mulai untuk sesi yang terakhir pada hari ini yaitu sesi yang kelima. Dan juga kembali nantinya acara ini akan kami lanjutkan lagi besok hingga hari Jumat tanggal 13 Oktober. Jadi nanti berkenan besok ataupun lusa untuk dapat datang kembali. Dan juga kembali kami ingatkan Bapak dan juga Ibu, kami memiliki survei terkait dari rangkaian acara yang kami hadirkan. Untuk itu bagi Anda kami persilakan untuk dapat meluangkan waktunya sebentar saja atau mungkin boleh ditampilkan Mas untuk surveinya, bisa di-scan lagi barcode-nya sembari kita menunggu untuk mempersiapkan di sesi yang terakhir pada sore hari ini. Kita boleh tampilkan sekali lagi untuk surveinya. di-scan saja Bapak dan juga Ibu, dan juga mungkin saya juga kembali mengundang Bapak dan juga Ibu yang mungkin masih berada di luar ya ataupun sedang menikmati hidangan coffee break. Untuk hidangannya boleh kami persilakan dibawa masuk ke dalam saja karena kita akan langsung lanjutkan untuk sesi yang terakhir pada hari ini. Dan tidak kalah menariknya dari presentasi-presentasi berikutnya, sebelumnya mohon maaf kembali nanti kami akan menghadirkan, moderator akan memimpin jalannya presentasi serta menghadirkan beberapa speaker. Dan juga dengan tema ataupun topik yang sangat menarik. Nah ini sudah kami tampilkan Bapak dan juga Ibu untuk surveinya, jadi boleh untuk meluangkan waktunya mungkin belum mengisi survei ini bisa langsung di scan barcode saja, nanti di situ ada beberapa pertanyaan ataupun bisa memberikan insight ataupun saran dan juga masukan terkait dari acara yang kami hadirkan dari kemarin hingga nanti berakhir tanggal 13 Oktober 2023. Baiklah sesaat lagi tentu saja saya akan mengundang untuk dapat hadir di atas panggung dan kami juga masih menyapa rekan-rekan kami yang hadir secara online. Nanti apabila masih ada beberapa pertanyaan kami juga akan buka kembali di sesi Q&A. Jadi mungkin nanti kalau ada pertanyaan dari Bapak dan juga Ibu yang hadir secara online boleh juga untuk memberikan pertanyaan di kolom chat, nanti akan dibantu oleh tim kami untuk memberikan pertanyaan sehingga akan diberikan langsung kepada narasumber kami. Baiklah, ini menarik sekali kalau kita bahas dari tema ataupun topik di segmen yang kelima ini, di mana demand side decarbonization core benefits of readoption industries ini nantinya akan dibawakan dengan menggunakan bahasa Inggris kembali. Jadi Bapak dan juga Ibu apabila membutuhkan translate ke bahasa Indonesia, kami sudah menyediakan interpreter dan nanti kami akan bersiap sesaat lagi, mohon maaf. So once again ladies and gentlemen, for this session, our last session for today's event will be delivered using English, and if you need for the translate in Bahasa, we also provide interpreter. And ladies and gentlemen, for the last session will be discussed about demand side decarbonization core benefits of readoption in industries. We also will be led by our moderator, and also our speaker will be deliver the very presentation. There's a lot of insight for all of us today. And now we're getting ready. Sesaat lagi ya Bapak dan juga Ibu. Baiklah itu kembali kami turut mengundang Bapak dan juga Ibu yang mungkin masih berada di luar. Kami persilakan, kami mohon untuk dapat hadir kembali. Kami akan segera mulai. And now we're ready for our last panel discussion of today's event. And we're going to invite also introduce our moderator for today. And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Dr. Johannes Anhorn, SETI Coordinator GIS Indonesia. Can we have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, in this room and also the online audience. Thanks for. Okay, so still being here, so not just us are tired, maybe also the microphone is already tired. So sorry for not being able to convey this last session of today in Bahasa. And I'm quite happy that I didn't opt in for Indonesian language because now I'm already tired and a bit nervous as well. So yeah, demand side decarbonization, core benefits of RE adoption in industries. The idea was to say core, so the really core benefits of looking at decarbonizing the industry, but also looking at core benefits. What else is there in the game? Why do we decarbonize the industry? Looking at the huge GHG emissions coming from that sector, and I have three fabulous speakers with me on that topic, and we will look into the nitty-gritty details of why transactions are happening, why they are maybe not happening, what are the challenges at hand from a regulatory point of view, financial point of view, but also on the technical side. So please welcome with me my three speakers, the three speakers of this last session of today. Octavianus, Bramantya, Pram, from the Kadin Net Zero Hub, General Manager with 15 years work experience. He is the responsible one in designing and executing all means of engagements between Indonesian private sector, academics and government representatives to advance on corporate sustainability agenda. Please, Pak Bram. I will also ask my two other speakers to come to the stage before Bram will start with his presentation. Raditya Pramudiantoro, he's the Senior Sustainable Manager from Danone, Indonesia. He has 9 years of experience across manufacturing, operations, and environmental topics, currently serving as the Senior Climate and Conservation Manager. He's responsible for strengthening the implementation of all climate and water stewardship program, to advocate and promote collective actions, drive the factories to achieve company ambitions, and engage with communities on sustainability program. Please. And last but not least, the colleague, country manager from BECIS, the Berkeley Energy Commercial Industrial Solutions, Binu George. Please join me on stage. He's a seasoned professional and expert in renewable energy industries with over 2 decades, I'm reading, 2 decades of experience. He has been developing over 800 megawatts of renewable energy projects valued at multi-million-dollar global contracts. And he is currently serving as the country head and director of business development at BECIS Indonesia. Please. So as I explained earlier, thanks for joining me on stage. We'll have 3 short introduction speeches on the topic, looking at the sustainable energy transition frameworks and everything that's needed from an association point of view. We'll look into the actual transaction. What are companies doing nowadays, and how can these be scaled across different sectors, from one example coming from Danone, but then also looking at the challenges that we have on a technical side, implementing scaling solutions on RE. And we will also look a little bit into EE solutions and what we can do on that as well, not only looking at RE, but also including EE options. So please, I'm handing over to Bram for giving his first speech on industrial decarbonization and the work of Kadin.
Okay, thank you, Johannes. So I think before we start, just a disclaimer, in terms of technical prowess, I am nothing compared to the rest of these 2 gentlemen here, but I think taking the perspective of Kadin Net Zero Hub, what I want to deliver is, how do we take whatever we do in terms of the energy perspective into the industrial decarbonization, but especially from the corporate perspective. How does it create the benefits for them, not only from the emission, but also from the business resilience aspect. So I think before we begin, our key questions when we work with the companies is that, how do we measure and manage the industrial sustainable energy transition? So if we heard the term energy transition, most of the times we are taken into the perspective of electricity, the PLN, and all the big narratives. But in terms of the industry, they are now facing also the questions of how do we transition from the energy that we are using, so the sources of energy, and how do we use the energy? Because later on the presentation, there are challenges that industries are facing right now. So first of all, the key question would be to reduce. Can we actually reduce? Or rather, do we really need to use energy as much as we need right now? As intensive as we need right now? The next question would be, can we maintain our growth while we are reducing or abating our emissions? Because the dynamics going forward, we are being expected to maintain our growth, or at least to some certain extent, but also at the same time, we are expected to reduce our emissions, probably more in terms of percentage compared to our growth. So the question is, can we still grow and abate our emissions. The second question would be to shift. If we know that a certain feedstock we need to shift, how do we rank different alternatives? Because you have different types of feedstocks as well right now. More importantly, shifting our fuel would also mean we are engaging with different suppliers and stakeholders. How do we maintain our engagement? How do we ensure that whatever shift that we have is sustainable as well? We don't want this year that we can shift, next year we don't know how's the landscape look like. And the last would be to rethink. How do we position our reduction and our shifting amidst our business strategy? How does this help us as a business to grow in the future? Now, to begin with, I hope, well, yeah, this is clear enough. But I think this is the perspective from the energy consumption by fuel types, and this is the data that's by Ministry of Energy. As you can see, 2022, we have a very huge proportion from coal. Almost 55% of the energy consumed by industry is driven by coal. And the funny thing is that 2020 and 2021, of course, we see some reduction in energy consumption due to the pandemic. But in 2022, the total number of final energy is even more significant compared to the pre-pandemic level. And we cannot do away from coal. So as our total final energy consumption grows along, our total coal consumption also goes along. It is still the dominant type, right? If we are thinking about electricity, the reality is that it's only 13% of the final energy is consumed on the electricity. Can we electrify? Now, the question of electrifying is not on the technology, or rather on the prices of the technology, but we are facing with the double pincher situation in the Indonesian industry. We are coal heavy in terms of energy in the industry, but we are also coal heavy in the electricity. So even if we shift our boiler to electric boiler, for example, our emission factor is still way, way behind, let's say, Thailand or Vietnam, or compared to Bangladesh that is very driven by gas generator, or even Singapore. So in the Indonesian industry are dealing with this double dose of coal across the energy types and also the electricity. The last question would be, does it make sense for us, considering that our energy is quote unquote considered cheap? Electricity in in Indonesia, considered to developed market, considered Japan, is way, way cheaper. Does it really make sense for us to transition? Any options that we have right now could very well be more expensive than the cost of energy that we are having right now. The question would be at the boardroom level, why we shift? If the question is about commercials and financials, then I say there is no definite incentive to shift into a more sustainable types of energy, whatever the form it might be. Now, into that perspective, we, not only in Indonesia, but also globally, we are living in kind of like a two-speed world right now. First is energy prices. The fact that the offshoring of production from the Eurozone, from US, developed market into the South Asia or the Asia Pacific or even Indonesia is practically driven by prices, but more that they import some of the products, but not the they still want to grab the value added from the final products. But if you can see the chart, that it keeps rising, and this is not 5 years back. This is literally 2021, like a span of 12 months, where you can see in the high energy intensive manufacturing, the share of imported intermediate goods keeps rising. In some certain extent, the imported of the final goods or the other goods are also increasing, but by way, way smaller differences, right? So the offshoring happens because we do have relatively lower energy prices, and it becomes attractive to them. So we can buy the input products at relatively cheaper price, so we can still manufacture the final products and still capture a very good value added at the final products. However, this begs the question, now we have the second speed, which is emission curbing. We have the CBAM right now. It's a very controversial, quote unquote, topic. Some people think that this is another form of taxation, but if I ask in the room, probably 50% will be supportive of CBAM, and the rest of the 50 will be against CBAM. But the point is, we as the producer countries are also expected to curb our emission because European Union does not want carbon leakage to happen. You know, shifting your productions outside EU might very well be beneficial for you from in terms of energy prices, but I don't want embedded emissions to come back into the European Union because that will just derail our commitment or our political promise or whatever it is. So you see, there's at one aspect, the energy prices are quite attractive in the, let's say in Indonesia, but because of that, our emissions are relatively quite high because we're very coal dependent. If we were to switch our electricity generation by gas, I think a lot of people can just do the math and see how the increase in the electricity price will we still be competitive in that aspect. Yes, the emission will go down, but the prices is not. So amidst on this two different perspective, how does the industry actually navigate this two-speed world? How do we put the decarbonization and all the technological solutions and approach that it entails into the correct perspective? So Kadin Net Zero Hub takes the recommendations of TCFD, that's Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, which posits that for a company to be able to present their climate transition plan, it should have these four pillars. The governance, how does the board of directors, board of commissioners actually see the climate transition? And how does the governance translate into strategy? How do we manage different risk aspects that arises from this changing climate dynamics, right? Risk is not only physical risk, which means that in 20, 30 years from now, probably part of our facility will be threatened by flood or by forest fire, but also transition risk. If Indonesia were to implement a very strict carbon pricing, how does that impact our financial perspective? And the last is basically metrics and targets. What's the emission profile? Do we have the target of decarbonization? Part of the climate solution lies in the metrics and targets, because you can see that if we switch from technology A existing into technology B in the future, we can actually reduce the emission. Yes, you can reduce the emission. How does it tally with the overall strategy of your business? Where are you going forward with this? Some part of it interesting is that sometimes switching energy form or type might result in the higher cost for you right now, right? But who knows what can we do in terms of the process improvement to make it better? So basically, if we know that all of these tools and solutions can be put into perspective as corporations, and it's not only on the emissions but also on the financial returns. Now let's circle back to beginning. Why do we reduce our energy intensity? As a compounding interest. You might now, but if you do it over 10 years, that's 5% every single year. The more you get 5% over 10 years, the more basically it makes sense. And it could work for you or against you. If you bleed 5%, your usage of energy is efficient, along those 10 years you will be using energy inefficiently over and over again. Now, when you shift, position the shifting at the center of the business resilience. How can this shift makes us more resilient so that at the end of the day you can rethink, how do we align what we do in reducing our energy intensity, what are we doing in shifting our energy, and put it into perspective of business. How does this increase our resilience? And I'm sure in the dynamics of the supply chain in industry, this will really help the business resilience. At least that's what we believe, and that's what Kadin Net Zero Hub as an initiative is doing. Because for us, there is no other color of growth rather than going green, going climate positive. So, John, that's my presentation, and thank you for having us here. That's from Kadin Net Zero Hub. Thank you.
Yeah, Bram, thank you very much. So I'm guessing that you receive a lot of requests coming from the industry. So how to actually do this? How to actually reduce or /shift and then actually rethink the current business model of and looking into the long-term perspectives of that. So what are you offering to them?
So basically, we do have different service models. So the very basic is that we assist the companies in Indonesia to start calculating their baseline, their emission baseline, trying to identify where the emission arise. So more often than not, they're jumping into conclusions, oh, we need solar panels. Wait a second. Okay, I do understand, and I'm sure you need solar panels, but how far along that it helps you to curb your emissions? Can we probably delay that for a year or two, while we still have some low-hanging fruit in energy efficiency, while we see there are process improvement that we can do that delivers better emission reduction with probably less investment. So I think knowing where the hot spots are and the pain points, identifying yourself first, that would be our first job. And then we can take it from there, talking to companies like Binu's companies, trying to find the solutions which can address or try to alleviate their pain points.
Thank you very much. So basically looking at the baseline, looking at what options do we have, not jumping right to the easiest conclusion, looking really at the long-term business model. We do have one in our plenum here who has gone through that journey multiple times with different entities of their business. So I'm happy to hand over to Raditya to give us an insight into Danone's journey towards energy efficiency, to decarbonize their business. And I'm really looking forward to see what you've done and how far you have gone so far.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to share. Maybe just a bit before we start in terms of decarbonization. So I would like to just introduce what is the Indonesia business. Right now we have 25 factories across Indonesia for water business and also nutrition business for all of ages. And this is our product. We have Aqua, I think one of the famous brand for bottled water, and also SGM is one of the famous product for baby nutrition. So this is our targets. As Bram mentioned that it is important to really think and what does it mean that we are contributing in the climate initiative. So at Danone, we have what we call the Danone Impact Journey. Basically, this is our commitment in terms of nature, in terms of giving help to the people, and also to the giving benefit to the communities. So here, the main commitment that will be related to the climate is to curb our GHG emission in line with the SBTi 1.5 degrees. And what does it mean as a company for Danone in the short term, mid-term, and long term? As you can see here, long term, of course, we would like to achieve the net zero by 2050, as many more countries, and 2060 for Indonesia. And the second one, in the midterm, we try to reduce our CO2 in line with the SBTi 1.5, which means around 50% of our emission by 2030. And the third one is the short-term one, is focusing on the improvement of energy efficiency by 30% by 2025. So the one that we're doing first, of course, the energy efficiency part. So we are committed to really improve our energy efficiency to make sure that we optimize our operation, so reduce and optimize our energy demand. And at the moment, right now, we are achieving 46% compared to our 2000 energy intensity globally. Moving on, of course, at some point, we need also to really implement the renewable energy, and we are starting with implementing the solar panels in one of our factory in Chirang back in 2017. And right now, by 2023, we already have 7 factories across Indonesia out of 25 that already implementing solar panels. It's the total capacity nationwide is around 8.2 megawatt peak. And of course, it will reduce our emission around 9,000 tons of CO2 equivalent. Other than solar panel, for the renewable energy, we also try to really think what are other options of renewable energy source that we can implement. So we are also working with Binu, with BECIS, to install one of the boiler biomass in one of our factory in Prambanan, Central Java, in which we have the capacity of 6 tons per hour and could reduce the emission for our operation around 8.3 tons of CO2, which is equal to 32% of the carbon footprint of our Prambanan factory in the Central Java. Other than that, of course, we are not stopping at the energy level, because at the end of the day, our target is to reach the net zero emission. So through various efforts to other option of initiative across our value chain, we are also try to reduce the emission impact of our operation. And one of the proof point is we have one product right now, Aqualab, which make from 100% recycled material, is carbon neutral certified as first in Indonesia for the beverage. As you can see here, you can also see what we are doing across the supply chain, starting in the very beginning in the upstream part, where we are doing the land conservation and biodiversity, which also will have a positive impact in terms of climate. Second one, we also have the regenerative agriculture initiatives to introduce the sustainable farmers practice that also reducing our emission. And then energy efficiency, renewable energy already discussed. In the business model itself for Aqua, we have 70% reusable business model, which is, I think, one of the most sustainable business model right now. And for the one that not reusable, we are also using the recycled material. Right now, it's up to 25% in our bottle. It's already recycled material. Of course, when we are transporting the product, we also think how we try to optimize the logistic impact. So we do the optimization of our route, and also try working with some external parties to really see options to deliver our products. One of them is through the train transport. And for the waste, we also have the integrated water waste processing facility across Indonesia. We have in Bali, Gresik, and one of the few initiatives that we have done is also through the implementation of biogas that will also related with the agriculture for our cattle and local mixed sourcing producer. So it's just a bit, because we are trying to do all of the decarbonization process since long time ago. Of course, we learned some things from our experience. The first one is regarding the renewable energy itself. So right now, when we are installing solar PV, we knew that with our current rooftop, we can cover around 10 to 15% of our electricity consumption. So reducing our needs from the beyond electricity. And it can also inspire the employee and also our suppliers to doing. So it's just a example. We have few people in the employee in Danone that already installing solar in their house, and we also have one our packer, Mas Pakasan, that already also implementing solar PV with capacity 400 kilowatt peak. The other challenges that we face is actually to install the solar PV, we have the limited capacity. The first in terms of rooftop, but second one is also in terms of regulatory perspective. So this one is we cannot go beyond the 10 to 15% because of this reason. The second one, we also try to implement many different kinds of energy sources, but sometimes it's not really economically feasible. So for example, when we are same area to create a more economically feasible scale, that will be great also to really accelerate the energy transition, especially in terms of thermal energy. The last one is regarding the competitive and innovative RE procurement option to achieve our ambition. So before the last session, we also talk about PPA and many other options that can be copy-paste from the that maybe could be interesting to be explored and helping the company that already commitment to achieve their 100% renewable electricity ambition. And especially for this is really important, because to accelerate the energy transition, we really need an across boundary regulation from the various stakeholders in Indonesia, governmental stakeholders, both at local and national levels to achieve their target, and also try to inspire the industry to take part, because without this it will be challenging to us to really rolling out this to many other private sectors. And we know that right now we need really a regulatory framework that will be flexible enough to make sure that the companies, the industrial sector, could have choosing the most appropriate and cost-effective decarbonization strategy according their needs, because one industry and the other will be different, the case and the issues. And then we also need transparency in terms of regulatory process. So hopefully we can also make it visible in the public, this information of regulatory compliance, the progress readily available in public. That will also including to simplify the regulatory and permit process. So this is really key to really achieve and to make sure that many parties, many private sectors, companies, or maybe as an individual, to make sure that the energy transition is could happening in Indonesia and could be accelerated beyond what we have right now. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much for the time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Raditya, with this very interesting example. Actually, focus first on energy efficiency. You've reached 46% compared to your 2000 baseline across the whole Danone business, right? So that's quite impressive. You also mentioned like spillover, or let's say, spillover effects to employees actually in your company, right? That started to think about installing PV rooftop at home, but also about scaling potentials. You talked about the challenge to pool interests of different stakeholders to voice up together, basically speaking about the challenge that you're facing from the regulatory point of view. So is there a key request from your side that you would say, if this could be changed, then we would be much faster moving forward toward net zero? You have an aim, 2030, if I state that correctly. 2050. Why not 2030? What's blocking you?
Okay, yes. One of the most important thing is to really have an options that can be implemented, which is economically feasible, but also will have an impact on the environment. One of the key levers that related to regulatory is, as mentioned before, we need more transparency in terms of regulatory, that really, in terms of the compliance, in terms of the progress, if we can be released in public and we can monitor it together with our stakeholders, it will be really great and will help us to accelerate our implementation. Because at the moment, we also try to install solar PV for all our factories by 2030 also. But of course, that's not enough because it's only 10 to 15% covering our renewable energy needs. That's why we need also another option, procurement option that could be interesting to us to implement.
Thank you very much. You have your technical partner basically for one of the part that you've done just sitting next to you, Binu from BECIS. You will give us a few examples, I guess, from what is actually feasible technically, also economically. What have you done in Indonesia so far? What are the bottlenecks here for the industry to move on from early pioneers to like massive scaling of those type of solutions? So please, we're looking forward to hear from your experience and the business that is at hand.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. And industrial decarbonization is something which is very close to me, and I've been advocating this for a long time. And there are a lot of things that I resonate with Octav. He was saying that why industry? Why industry? If you see the numbers, energy, the GHG emission that is coming out from the energy itself is close to 73%. Now, out of these 73%, of course, the major portion is coming from industries. The numbers can be here and there, but taking from which year's report that we are taking. But the point is, 24% of the greenhouse gas emission is happening through the industrial sector, which means that there's a much more potential in the industrial sector for a decarbonization. Now, when we talk about decarbonization, we all have the habit of, the low-hanging fruit, that's the solar. But there is much, much beyond the solar that you can go for industrial decarbonization. And that's what BECIS, we have been doing it. We have been doing successfully with some really good companies who have clear focus like Danone. They have a very clear target for carbon reduction, becoming carbon net neutral. And there is business towards this. Why industrial sector is moving towards? Because the buying pattern of the customers more and more is moving towards green product. Like more than 66% of the survey that has been done, people are wanting more green products. They want more energy efficient products. They want sustainable products. So if companies or multinational companies or any company, they want to be in business, I think renewables or going green is the only way that is there. What do? We help customers achieve their sustainability goals. So we help them reduce their CO2 emissions, and we also help them reduce their energy cost. That's where, as Papa said, that some of the cases are commercially not viable. Commercial is a really important aspect for developing nations. You cannot just go green and without looking onto the cost. So commercial aspect is very much important, and that's something which we have been working very closely with our customers. So all our solutions, we give long-term energy agreement, long-term energy supply agreement for electricity, cooling, as well as heating services. So let's talk about energy as a service. Now we know we are surrounded by everything as a service now. You say transportation as a service, you say hotel industry as a service, banking as a service, everything is becoming as a service. So why not energy as a service? Now, one of the biggest area is that putting up a renewable energy project for an industrial sector, you need capital, and that's really capital intensive. Now, this is where BECIS, we invest, we design the project, we construct, we do the operation maintenance, and as we said, that we own the asset for the lifetime or for the period of the contract. And after the contract is finished, then we hand over the asset to the company. So that's called energy as a service. So the customer pays us only for the energy that they consume, and we recover our investment for the lifetime of the period, and then we bring in our expertise in operating the asset as well. So yeah, so there are different areas. So there are different areas that we can work. Of course, solar is an area where we have done studies for greenhouse gas emissions can happen, reduction 20 to 40% based on the capacity, roof, demand. I mean, it can differ from place to place. Then you have batteries and solar. Then you have bioenergy sector. Bioenergy is a sector or a vertical in which 80 to 90% of greenhouse gas emission is possible, because it's direct thermal emission that you are reducing, which some customers are using some kind of a coal, a gas, any kind, where maximum emission reduction is possible. Then we have service. So customers want to replace their old chillers, bring in more energy efficient chillers. We give cooling pumps, waste heat recovery, energy analytics. All these solutions that we are doing is aiming to help our customers reduce their emission and bring in energy efficiency. That's the whole aim, idea that we are bringing all these solutions. So we are not a solar company, or we are not a bioenergy company. We are a renewable energy developer. That's where, and we bring in our expertise with that. Of course, this is one example where we helped one of our customer who was emitting almost 11,400 tons of emission, and with all our solutions, they are emitting only 720 tons. So, almost 94% of their emissions have been reduced, all through energy as a service. So that's possible. Very quickly, I think it is gone. So we can help our customers in scope 1 emissions, scope 2 emissions, scope 3 emissions. All the three are possible. So in different emission criteria, we can give them long-term energy supply agreements, we can give them IREX, we can give them energy efficiency projects, that's possible. We are present in practically all of Southeast Asia, including China and India. We have a portfolio of close to 300 megawatt of solar. We have more than 80 tons per hour of thermal bioenergy projects across these countries. We also do waste heat recovery projects that's been done. So all these multinational customers that, having clear energy emission targets, we are working with them. Yeah, this is how a bioenergy project looks like. Okay, it's very near to Jakarta. Just an hour's journey. I mean, feel free, you can, I would be more than happy to take you to one of the sites. And this is one of our other best installations, Pa. Any guess? Yeah, this is Danone installation. And the best part is that this is our bioenergy installation, and on top of that we have a solar plant also. So it's a same place where we have bioenergy as well as solar. In fact, there are many other solar plants that we have worked with Danone. These are some of the other projects in Indonesia. We had our first installation in bioenergy way back in 2017. So, from last 5-6 years, we have been running these projects in the country. We have projects in Cambodia, we have projects in India, we have projects in Thailand. So all these areas, we have been doing projects, bioenergy projects. That's not. Greenhouse gas emission and energy efficiency is not the only thing. When you combust agricultural waste, these are all, the ash that is generated is a biofertilizer. These biofertilizers are being distributed back to the community as a pupuk. So that's something which is as a complete circular economy that we are promoting. So that's an added advantage. Yeah, these are some examples of the ash getting distributed to the farmers, and the farmers utilizing it as promoting is at organic farming. So yeah, these are some of our solar projects which we have done in Indonesia as well as outside Indonesia. Is the battery slow or is? Yeah. So whether it is ground mounted, rooftop or solar or floating, we have all the technologies. These are some of our waste heat recovery and chiller optimization projects that we have done. Yeah, I think this is one of the most interesting topic for everybody. Where do we source our biomass? Technical challenges are there. So when we do the biomass feasibility, when we understand or work with our customers, we do a technical feasibility and a biomass feasibility. There are different criteria where we understand the demand, the pressure, what kind of a steam do you require, and what are the emission norms of that region. So all these goes under the feasibility of the region. Then what are the different type of biomass that is available in the region of 50 to 100 kilometers or 200 kilometers, whether it is rice straw, whether it is sugarcane leaves, whether it is cocoa waste, wood chips, or sawdust. If there is a furniture industry which is nearby, we will be using the wood waste over there. So there are procurement challenges. Sustainability is the most key factor for all sourcing of our biomass. That's one of the most important thing when we do we have specialized softwares that we use, technology that we use for identifying our vendors, our sources, where we source our biomass. Supply chain challenges are there. So as I said, sustainability, security of supply, and cost. These are the three things that are most important, which can make a project viable. So all the challenges are there. Definitely, I mean, without challenges, we cannot work. Selected countries have different challenges. Like I've just taken 3 countries where we are very active. Now Indonesia, I mean, very, very quickly, In the Indonesian index, if you see, the biomass availability is too much. In fact, I hear what was saying, that the biomass availability in Southeast Asia for Asia is the highest, okay, than other, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines has got the highest. But the sustainability challenges the ranking. We are very, very low on that. Similarly, Philippines, India, other countries has got different challenges and the cost. That's a quick brief about what we have done in the country. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. More than glad.
Thank you very much. Binu, you mentioned there's always the first step is there needs to be a clear target, right? The company needs to have a target, needs to want to achieve something. Service support companies reaching those, also.
First thing is that when we are working with some industrial customers, we help develop a roadmap. That was a biomass project. Then we moved to a solar project. Then we moved for a cooling project. Now, so and so forth. Then one after the other factories. So the first thing is that we need to have a holistic approach, not a technology approach, but a holistic approach to help them decarbonize. So that's the feasibility study that we do.
Thank you. So taking that back to Raditya, exploring the different options, looking at short-term options, mid-term, long-term options that you have in your company. How do you take those suggestions from BECIS as a technology and solution or service provider up to your management level, right? How do you convince them?
Yeah, it's important to have a clear commitment from the top management for sure, because if you don't have that, so it's quite difficult to implement, because sometimes it's quite challenging. There is a lot of issues and worries. If we talk about when we are starting the project, some question is starting from, is this provider will be here another 20 years? What is the financial strength? Something like that is also coming up actually. But so it's important to really have the good commitment and have a mechanism to really make sure if we go or not go with this project. So the process project approval is also key to make sure if we want to go with BCIS, with these technologies or the others. So internally we also have what we call the internal carbon pricing actually. So with this internal carbon pricing, it's a mechanism to really monetize the carbon impact. So when we are doing this, we not only see the financial impact, but also this carbon impact, and this will be used as a consideration for the top management to really decide whether we go or not go with this project. So this is part of the approval process. And also, of course, it's really important also to have a good portfolio. As Binu mentioned, they already have installed a lot of projects across countries. And one of the key issues that also bring up is also the sustainability of the source, the materials, is also comes up. So also, of course, we are working with them also to really have a holistic solution approach, combining with this internal mechanism to make sure the top management is understand the benefit of this project. It's something like that, Pak, in Danone.
So, Pak Bram, following up on that answer, when you and Kadin Net Zero Hub get requests coming from the industry, is it more on the technical side that people like the engineers in the company are asking, where do I find the best available technology? Where is the most energy efficient technology available for us in our, let's say, we want to reduce or we want to increase our efficiency on the steam production side or electricity? Or is it more coming from the top level? Like, there's this regulation, and with this regulation in place, we cannot really move on with getting our sustainability improvement in the business. So which areas, which people are approaching you, and what do you offer to them?
I think it comes from both sides. So there are cases when we work with the operation team, with the factory managers and floor managers, particularly when we are speaking about solutions. So energy efficiency, right? We did have some discussion with a couple of companies. They are the engineering people that come to us. And funny thing is, you know, they're asking about the viability of installing a solar rooftop, but when we did a short site visit, at the instant go, we see a lot of inefficiencies happening at the factory level, right? The heat pipes are not insulated. When we talk about the air compressor, there are leakage here and everywhere. I mean, probably if you add that up, that's already 10-15% just by plugging all the inefficiencies around. So we do have instances where we are talking to the engineering people, but we also have instances where we talk with the board level, practically because it has something to do, not with the regulation, because I understand Indonesian regulation still has a lot to catch up, but basically because the compliance is driven by the principle. Now, Pak Radit is very lucky because all the way to the board level, due to the fact that Danone is an MNC, this kind of embedded incentive and penalties are embedded within the contract of BOD. I'm sure about that, Pak Radit. So there's this thing called about, you know, his board of directors probably can calculate the true value of an energy consumption. Yes, if we use coal, probably commercial-wise it's only $100, but what's my actual true value if I've embedded the emission pricing using their ICP, the internal carbon pricing? That might drive them into different direction other than commercials. But when we talk to the local companies, the issue is there's this compliance from my principle, and if I follow this, then my cost goes up. Now, I think the hard truth for them is don't think about solutions first. Let's go back to basic. What's becoming the key ask from the principles is basically emission curbing or emission abatement. Then we start the whole process again. But it helps for us to talk with the boardroom level, because then when we talk with the engineering, at least the C-level already have buy-in. It doesn't do the other way around, right? When we talk with the factory managers, it comes to a question, but how do I finance this? Well, that's not my part. Let's talk to your boss. But I agree with Pak Radit. Buy-in from the C-level is very, very key for the industries to actually push any kind of initiatives. Low investment, even no investment at all the way to a very high level of investment.
So that sounds at some point also very easy. You walk through a company, you work through an industry, and you can figure out 10-15% energy efficiency just by doing a walk-through auditing, right? Why is it not happening more broadly? And I'm asking you, basically, you know, like you have been visiting probably hundreds of companies in Indonesia, just walking through, and you will like, I know this could be done, this could be done. So what do you think? Is it the human resources that are missing? Is it the access of the engineering level to the management level? You know, like, where's the gap? Why is it not happening?
Change is difficult.
Change is difficult.
Change is difficult. So, you know, what Prama said is that basically there are a lot of, just by covering up the leaks and, you know, bringing in more energy efficient products itself, you can, you know, have energy saving by 10-15%. Now, renewables is a different topic, okay? But if you want to bring energy efficiency into your system, then I think, you know, old products which have been, so traditionally what happens is that there is a factory or an industry, and then, you know, 20 years back, 30 years back, you would have had X capacity, and then, you know, the market started growing, then you started increasing your production capacity, and by one you started adding lines. So over a period of last 20-30 years, what has happened is that you have added more products, but if you combine it together, you can bring in one single efficient product, like for example motors or pumps or chillers. You have just added one product just to take care of your additional capacity, but not thought about efficiency as a whole. That's where you know, we can bring in efficiency and you know, energy reduction just by having a holistic approach and re-engineering the whole, you know, design.
That sounds like a massive investment. right? If you're adding, you have always the small steps. You go one by one. You buy a new pump. You replace an old one. But if you really rethink your whole business model, so is there a kind of a service that you're also providing to those companies, right? We're looking at it holistically.
That's right. So what we have done is that BECIS, we are discussing with our customers that your non-core assets is your electricity generation. Your core assets is like, for them, the core assets is the process, the milk production of the best product. That's electricity generation or energy is a non-core asset for them. And why would they want to invest, more in that? That is our core asset. So BECIS, we are investing, designing, and we are helping our customers reduce their emission in their non-core assets, which are core for us. And our expertise is in that. So we are giving solutions in solar, in thermal, whether to generate steam, hot water or hot air. Then we are also extending our services for cooling services, where we give chill water or we give waste heat recovery to give absorption cooling. We are also helping them in compressors, replace old compressors. We are also for chillers, as I said, energy analytics. So anything which is towards the energy side, we are helping our customers. And on a energy as a service business model.
So we can see that this is a whole multitude of options that you have, like going from a walkthrough in the company and identifying certain areas, looking at the different steam, heat, cooling, electricity. Now, Danone is a multinational organization. You're having businesses all over the world, I assume, and Bram was already mentioning that you have like internal KPIs that really help you to steer the decarbonization journey that you're embarked on already years ago. Now let's quickly talk about also smaller enterprises. How can they be convinced? How can they be actually moving? The ones that are probably not, I'm saying, entangled or part of global supply chains, not having a lot of customers outside. Because you mentioned earlier, I think Binu maybe said that it's also driven by the customers, right? You want to buy green products, you want to be buying sustainable products. So what if the demand doesn't come from your customer, or you're a hidden supplier to the businesses in Indonesia? So maybe I'll ask Raditya, how would you convince a smaller enterprise, a smaller industry player in Indonesia?
Yeah, it's a quite difficult question actually.
We're getting towards the end, so it's getting more difficult now.
But actually, right now, a lot of multinational companies across their value chain are first working with the smaller companies right now, right? If we are talking about the SBTi commitment, we cannot do the reduction by ourselves. So we also need the suppliers to working with us to reduce their carbon emission. Therefore, our product will be also reduce their emission. And the one that we are doing now is try to give them globally kind of incentive for the suppliers that really can provide us with kind of lower emission product in global perspective. But the second one is also what we are doing in Indonesia, because we also have co-packer or co-manufacturing partners for our feed product. Actually, they don't really, first, as Pak Binu mentioned, we don't really understand the issue of the energy efficiency. So they are focusing more on the production efficiency most of the time. So how the cost to our customers. So we are also doing some kind of training and workshop with them, starting by just measuring your good way for environment and the cost. And the cost will be on their benefits, and we will take the environmental benefit as the customer of their products.
Can I add something?
Binu, please add.
Can I?
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you, if a company decides that they want to become carbon net zero, okay, by 2050, it's scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And scope 3 is where your suppliers are. Now these are the suppliers which are local community. They don't have local brand or big, supply chain where, they will be exporting it to different countries. Now this is where incentivizing or not penalizing for putting renewable projects. The government incentives that would help them to decarbonize themselves. Some support from the value chain, where companies like Danone or whoever is taking the supply chain products, they incentivize or they give them marking towards their suppliers that, okay, these are my suppliers, tier A1 suppliers, tier B1 suppliers, which adds them with additional business. Now we are working with one of our beverage company on their scope 3 emissions, working with, label manufacturers, can manufacturers, small, no, but yeah, there has to be some incentivization towards the, lower value scope 3 emission reduction.
Bram, in your presentation, you mentioned the CBAM mechanism, and now we've heard like incentives, disincentives. So is that more on the incentive side for Indonesian industries, or is it more a disincentive to like invest further and move into more towards the national market, basically?
I think going back to the perspective as corporations, as companies, we always look through the bottom line perspective, right? What can we do to improve us as a company? But maybe this also tells with the previous question, the hard question. But in my perspective, it's not these small companies that I'm worried about. It's these large companies with predominantly domestic market. If I may mention, let's say industries like cement. They practically, one company controls 70% of the market, or even 65%, all domestic market. Of future potential investment. If they're doing this, they know they are in the domestic market that has no incentive. They're doing the decarbonization journey that might cost them a bit. That's okay, still within my range, right? I answer to the shareholders anyway, and I can say to my shareholders, we're doing this for resilience 5-10 years. But their angle is, can I get more, the better concept of shareholders or even green bonds? Basically to lower cost of financing to propel my growth in the future. So that's an interesting angle. So they're not looking for direct incentive, but they're more looking on the path of, if I benefit, then I can get down to the line. So if the government wants to provide incentive, it will be a very strong signal to the industry, much like Pak Raditya said, we need transparency, right? But I think from the private sector perspective, it's not time for us to just sit and say we need incentive or we need this incentive. I think it's to find what the levers that we have within the industry and our corporation, how we activate levers. It could be investment, it could be cheaper financing for you to get one step ahead of your competitors. It could be anything, but it all ties down to where do you want your business, how can we increase the resilience by using decarbonization perspective.
Yeah, very interesting. Actually, that's a good point to also mention our tomorrow's session of ICU, where we will really look into the financing topic a little bit more closer, looking at what's at hand, what are the difficulties there, and resilience strategy of a business model, and taking that the financing costs also into at the core, right? Now, you mentioned the hard-to-abate industries, like with a lot of or big national market, and the energy as a service idea is actually more looking to the not so core business, right? Looking at energy efficiency that you can gain from various technical options. So are there also opportunities and technologies that you think could and should be deployed for the core business of the, let's say, the two mentioned industries, right? The cement industry and also the steel industry in Indonesia. So,
yeah, I mean, if there is the large industries like the cement, steel, iron, refineries, there are a lot of areas where definitely decarbonization is possible. Now, these are places where, you know, large amount of projects can be implemented. When I say large amount of projects means these are high intensive energy consuming companies, and, you know, it may also make sense to put up their own geothermal project. It may also, you know, get commercially viable to put up a large wind farm for them. You know, these are, you know, the high intensive, large scale projects where the regulatory, you know, environment has to be, and that ecosystem has to be there, which can help them, you know, move faster. I mean, that's not smaller solutions can help them. Putting a bioenergy project for a large refinery is something not even a 1% of reduction. But putting a geothermal project for them, very much. Putting up a large wind farm or a, you know, a large solar farm, definitely. But for that, there has to be an ecosystem where, you know, it supports them to put up such large investments and projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very important. I think the whole ecosystem with different players. Abram, you mentioned earlier also that you're facilitating exchange and engagement between political stakeholders, the private sector, academics. Later ones, maybe a question, how much do they play a role when you're developing your projects, like academic research work? Earlier we had a colleague from Brin also presenting in one of the sessions here. So are they still involved, or are we at a mature technology and we can just deploy those technologies?
I think in terms of the technology and the maturity of technology, George can answer, but basically, because Kadin is quite a private-focused entity, we are, after all, representing the private sector side. So when we talk to the government, it's not, you know, think of us as the lobbyists of the government, but what we do is basically we consolidate the view of the industry. For example, like the solar panel, what Raditya mentioned about the capacity. So basically, we work with the private sector and we say we understand the difficulties and challenges from the PLN, but we also have the challenges of we have to decarbonize our electricity. So what's the option? So Raditya mentioned about maybe kind of like a sleeve PPA or green tariff or RE procurement beyond the captive solar panel. So I cannot answer how, you know, what's their role or something, but definitely if you think of the government, we cannot work without the government. But the way Kadin operates is that we consolidate the voice from the private sector, and to some certain extent we are saying this is what we need. Otherwise we will have difficulties. I don't know how do you do this, but this is what we need. Right? Because we're not in the process of policy making. That will take years, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm receiving the notification that the time's up and that there were actually no Q&A coming from the online audience. I'm just looking in this room here. I know it says time's up. I'm still looking if somebody wants to raise a question here. Otherwise, I would ask the speakers on the floor. Oh, there's one question on the back. Please, quickly hand over the microphone. And state your name and your affiliation, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to ask. Hello, my name is Hilmi from the Institute for Essential Services Reform. My question is for whom I answer this question. What is the challenge about the implementing electrified boiler in Indonesia, and what is the challenge in maintaining the supply for biomass that used to for boiler? Yeah. Thank you.
Is it towards me?
I think, yeah.
So if I can, thank you for the question. I think if I can hear you correctly, was it, why is it electrical boiler not feasible over here? Electrical boiler, see, electrical boilers are used where the steam demands are very low, okay? Less than 1 ton, people use electric boilers. And also it is not actually a steam generation, it's basically hot water generation. So that's where, electrical boilers, people use it. Electricity is cheap over here. So most of the people in industries where less thermal demand is required, hot water is required, they still use electric boilers. The second point is, was it sustainability of biomass or was it security?
Feedstock.
Security of the biomass, okay. In fact, 99% of our meetings with the customer is the same question. How will you ensure me the biomass availability for the next 15 years? That's the biggest topic. Now I'll tell you something. When we do the feasibility of the region, we do for feasibility of only 100 kilometers. And then in that 100 kilometers, we try to find out what are the different types of biomass, whether it is rice husk, whether it is corn cobs, or whether it is wood waste or sugarcane leaves, what is the availability? Now, we all know that there is seasonality in Indonesia, okay? In one region, we will have the crop harvesting in the month of April. In some other region, it will be in the month of May. Then it will be in June, July. So what we do is that if in that region biomass is not available, then we move further away, 150 kilometers. Then we move further 200 kilometers. But biomass availability in this country, as long as we Indonesians don't shift to pizza eating, we eat rice, rice husk, and biomass will be always available in the country.
So thank you very much for this short answer. Yeah, taking just up the last statement that was coming up, right? The ecosystem needs to be ready. The ecosystem needs to move together on the same speed somehow. But I'm really looking for all the pioneers and the first movers as well across the hard-to-abate industries, but also on the smaller scale. So let's team up together. I think that's very important. Building consortia, building groups of people, building a network of those who are having learned their lessons already, moving forward to achieve net zero and increasing their energy efficiency, not just the ones looking at the international markets, but also at the domestic markets. So thank you very much for joining me today on the stage. And I'm really looking forward to tomorrow discussing also the topic on the financing, what are the challenges here. And thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you very much.
So once again, thank you very much. That will Could you please to step forward in front of the table? Thank you so much. And could you please to face into the camera in the middle and let me count starting from 3, 2, and 1. One more. Starting from 3, 2, and 1. Can we have a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. May you be seated. So once again, thank you very much to our moderator for lead our last session of today's event, also all the speakers. Thank you very much for sharing all the presentation. It's very insightful to all of us today. Thank you so much, sir. Baik Bapak dan juga Ibu, dan rupanya sudah ada di penghujung acara pada sore hari ini. Sekali lagi terima kasih kami ucapkan kepada seluruh partisipan yang sudah hadir juga mengikuti rangkaian acara dari pagi hingga sore hari ini. Dan juga terlebih terima kasih untuk rekan-rekan kami yang juga masih hadir secara online. Dan untuk itu maka berakhir sudah rangkaian acara di hari kedua ini. Indonesia Sustainable Energy Week 2023. Jangan lupa besok kita masih akan lanjutkan di hari ketiga dan besok juga masih akan ada banyak sekali agenda-agenda yang kami hadirkan dan juga tentu saja akan banyak sekali membahas topik yang akan disampaikan oleh masing-masing narasumber. Sekali lagi terima kasih banyak sudah berkenan hadir, sampai jumpa esok. Saya Indah Novita, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, selamat sore dan sampai jumpa. Terima kasih.